Welcome to Samvad. I am Ajit, Hanamakkanavar. What a beautiful morning it is. We have with us our External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar sir. So good morning, sir.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to talk to you, sir. We are celebrating 75th year of independence.
Absolutely.
And warm wishes on that, sir.
Well,
How do you
thank
see
you.
the India's journey in last 75 years? From where to where we have come?
I think we've come a very long way. If you see where we began and where the colonial period had left us, today I think we are a very confident country. We are a country that is feeding itself. We are a country that has whose national unity and security is strong, where a lot of basic needs are met. What has happened is, particularly in the last decade, I think it's like there's a shift of gear.
Shift of gear.
And now I think we are aiming for bigger things, higher things. Should, in some senses, maybe should have happened earlier, like power to electricity for all homes, tap water to all homes, the health coverage, education. These things, they had been progressing. They are now progressing very much faster. There is a very strong effort today to raise the level of services and basic rights of people. So it's been a good journey. It's been a tough journey. Yeah. There have been problems on the way, but I would say today, we are in a much more confident position. We can aim for much higher targets, and the foundation, particularly I would say the programs of the last 10 years, they are actually going to give us a very new foundation, very strong foundation to move forward.
And we are celebrating Har Ghar Tiranga.
Yes, absolutely.
You think it will help Indians to remember themselves that wonderful journey of 75 years from where to where we have come?
I don't think Indians need remembering.
Okay.
I think that Har Ghar Tiranga, that feeling is inside people.
Yes.
It needed a message, motivation to bring out that feeling. I think Indians are fundamentally patriotic. If you can rouse the national spirit, Indians are willing to do things for the country, and this is actually a huge motivational effort. And to my mind, the occasion is right.
Yes.
The occasion is right. People feel it. I can sense it. I mean, today, after our talk, I am going to go into not even into the rural areas, and I expect to see that expression of that feeling.
Well, let us come to your forte, sir. India's foreign policy. I think there is a paradigm shift. The way India is speaking on foreign stages with the foreign press, there is a paradigm shift in how India is presenting itself. What do you think of it?
In a way, you are right. Maybe because I am involved on it on a day-to-day basis, I don't see the shift as strongly as I see it step by step. Okay. Maybe you are right. But the reason I would say for that is that one, our domestic foundations are stronger. Two, we have a leadership today. Prime Minister has a vision of India, an ambition of India, ambition for India, which is the ambition of actually particularly of the up and coming generations. They want to see India at a place on big issues of the day. They like seeing a projection of Indian culture. When the world celebrates yoga, it's a matter of pride for all Indians. But they also have that sense that India's interests are secured. They may be secured at home on our borders. They can be secured abroad if our people are somewhere trapped or stuck abroad. We saw that in Ukraine, we saw that in Afghanistan. So it's a mix. So it is definitely, I would say, an India. Today we are a $3 trillion economy plus. We will soon be the most populous country in the world. We have huge capabilities. Bangalore itself is a symbol of that capability. So for the world politics, world economy, the big issues of the day, we matter. You know, the world wants to know where we stand. And you can see that even on some of the recent situations, the number of visitors who have come to India, people who want us to take one position or the other. So, all of this is expression of that. So, yes, in that sense, there has been a very big change. I think it is a change which expresses the hopes and aspirations of the country.
We have seen the Ukraine issue recently, sir. India's stand for that matter was very strong, and we did not get yielded to the most powerful countries of the world.
You know, I would like to put it more positively. So, I think we were clear on what our interests were. We were clear about how we perceived what we think is the way out, and the way out is ultimately diplomacy and dialogue. And we were guided in a way by our own experience, you know, by our own experience of
that was my question. Let me put it in another way. What gives a country that clarity? Is it the leadership? Is it the economic power? Is it the history and the experiences?
Look, I have been in the foreign policy business, you can say, for now for 45 years. Yes. So, I have seen a lot of governments, a lot of change in this period. I think it is a combination of all of them. Okay. But if you ask me what really makes a difference, I would say it is leadership.
Leadership.
That okay. If you have a Prime Minister who is, you know, who is clear, who is deeply nationalistic, who is willing to take the whatever needs to be done to secure the interests of his country, I think it makes a very big difference. And if his working style is also such where he has a view, he has a sense, an understanding of global politics, that strategic perspective, and then he kind of gives you the space to implement that. You know. So it is both in a sense a leadership and a leadership style of working.
So you have seen Narendra Modi being an officer and now being a minister. Do you feel any difference in that?
I would put it this way. You know, I first actually met him when I was ambassador in China. Yeah. This was 11 years ago, 2011. Then next time I was ambassador in Washington. He had just become Prime Minister. You know that famous visit, the Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
And then of course I worked 3 years as Foreign Secretary. I think the difference between being an ambassador and a secretary and being a minister, when you are in the cabinet, when you are in politics, when you are part of the BJP, when you are part of a parliamentary party, and you understand, you know, you have an insight into the political dynamics, the social dynamics, you know, what actually drives thinking. So, I would say yes, very definitely there are aspects of the Prime Minister and aspects of his political thinking, which I would not have got had I not joined politics. Yes, definitely. I mean, no question.
No, but for Narendra Modi, if anybody, any other Prime Minister would have invited you for the politics, would you have joined?
No.
No? No. Why?
You know, very honestly, nobody in my family has been in politics. Nobody in my family been in politics. It is not something which ever occurred to me. You know, there are people who had ambitions. I never had. Okay. I mean, so I joined because at that point of time in 2019, I felt it was important if in some way I could strengthen his hands and his capability. It's something I should do. I would not, I mean, I have nothing, I know many of the other Prime Ministers, and some of them I have very high regard.
You have worked very close.
I had, I would say, a degree of both faith and comfort, which was needed for me to actually take that plunge. I am not sure I had that, I would have had that with anybody else.
Sir, of late I am seeing that, the way of warfare itself is changing. Like you can bring a country on its knees, even in economic warfare. We are seeing Sri Lanka. Are you worried about how China is investing in the countries around us?
You know, look, I would not describe that situation as a warfare situation. I think they were caught by too many things coming at the same time, their own policies, their own borrowings, to some degree the COVID tourism shrank for them, then the remittances came down for them. There were, I would say, you know, sometimes they call it the perfect storm, when everything,
the mixture of, you know, the perfect mixture for a disaster.
So I think they had that, unfortunately. Okay. But your point about economic influence, coercion, etc., that is a well taken point, because today, in fact, you know, the old way of exercising pressure is I won't say it is beyond us, because there are still conflicts going on. You are seeing one in Ukraine. But if you look at sanctions, you look at, in fact, how people use trade. Some countries have used trade, saying, you know, I am angry with you, so I will do something on the trade front. Or people have used connectivity to advance their agenda. So there are many non-military instruments of influence, or sometimes even of coercion, which are there, and it is something. For that reason, I believe the most important thing the Prime Minister is trying to do, you know, when he says Atmanirbhar Bharat, people think of Atmanirbhar Bharat as a political slogan. People think of it, which is good. People think of it as an economic agenda, which is in my view also good. But to me, it is strategic, that a country of our size must have the capabilities, so that we are not pressurized by our vulnerabilities and our dependencies on other people. You know, in a sense today, if you look at the core agenda of the Modi government, national security, economic growth, and social justice. I mean, to my mind, Atmanirbhar Bharat captures all of them.
Yes. What do you think? Who is our number one, I mean, I don't want to use that word enemy, or a threat to our national security, the highest threat to our national security?
Look, I would even not put it the way you are putting it. I know, but look, it's not in the nature of my way of approaching an issue. I think, you know, politics is competitive. International politics is super competitive. It is like a test match as opposed to a Ranji Trophy.
Ranji Trophy.
So,
or T20 for that matter.
Yes. So, no, sometimes it's like a T20, because you combine with different players, and you work sometimes with even foreign players. I put it as a continuing competition, and sometimes, you know, competition with some countries, like you say, if you have a dispute on a boundary, obviously that kind of competition is very different. Now, if you have a competition where a country uses terrorism against you, then that's not competition, then that is of a different, that is a threat.
Yes.
You know. So I would say, you know, our history over the last 75 years has shown many of the answers. It is not that the answers are not there. You need a leader with strategic clarity to see those answers. And then, I mean, we know that for a long time there was a problem building with China. But if you see what was the state of border development, you know, why wasn't the border infrastructure really prepared to deal with those challenges? Because everybody saw the challenge.
Yes, it was coming.
So today it is really in the last 8 years that if you see the amount of roads which were built, the bridges which were built, these, I mean, if today our armed forces are able to stand their ground in Ladakh, it is because actually a lot of it is assisted by better border infrastructure, but there is a long way to go.
Where India stands in China and Taiwan issues?
I think yesterday the spokesperson gave a very very clear and
balanced stand.
Position on the matter. So I would urge you to look at it. I don't want to say anything more.
So what do you think about 2024 elections? Will that be as easy as 2014 and 2019?
You know, when you ask me how have things changed
After being a politic?
I will tell you one thing I learnt in the last 3 years. I learnt really that politics looks very easy from outside.
Okay.
It is actually a very demanding, it's a very demanding call of service. And you know, when you say, was it as easy as 14 and 19? I don't, looking back, I can now understand. I'm sure 14 and 19 were not easy.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
and for this reason, one, you have to, you know, I am also seeing really what an effort the people who are in politics have to make to meet the expectations of the people, and that the expectations of the people are rising, and in my view rightly rising. I think people should be demanding more and more.
Absolutely.
But to meet that, it is something which, you know, it doesn't happen so easily, and I actually today have a lot of respect and a much better understanding of how the political processes work.
One last question about your connection with Karnataka, sir. You were recalling Belgaum, Chikkodi, Uppittu and everything.
Well, you know, I first came here first time in 1962.
Okay.
My grandfather was at that time chairman of HAL. So in fact, I used to remember, I used to live off Queens Road. There's a road, street called Edwards Road. Okay. Then after that, he settled down here in cantonment. So, you know, grandparents, all of us are close. Then for a brief period, my parents went abroad. So I actually studied in what was then King George's School, now the Bangalore Military School in Hosur Road. So I kept coming till I joined service. So in fact, you know, when you join the sit for UPSC, you have to give some home state. Now I was from Delhi.
Okay, yeah.
So you can't give Delhi as your. So the place I had the most association with was actually Karnataka. So I actually gave Karnataka as my home state at that period. So when we were sent for our district exposure. So I was sent to Belgaum district, and I spent 4 months in Chikkodi. I still have very fond memories of that period. It actually taught me a lot. So really, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Wonderful talking to you, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you.
ಇದು ಏಷ್ಯಾನೆಟ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಿ.
ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಏಷ್ಯಾನೆಟ್ ಸುವರ್ಣ ನ್ಯೂಸ್.